Hey guys, how you doing? It's that time of the year again, time for that twice a year video where I talk about all the things that happen at Comiket, stuff I found a little interesting, things that happened around the event, starting off with the series that had the most number of circles at Comiket. Here you go, here's the list. The first place has not changed for a long time, and I feel like the top 5 spot for the last few Comikets have been more or less the same. You saw some level of change from the 3rd to 5th place. I think like Idolmaster came up last Comiket, Toho and FGO are always there. Although the interesting thing this time around is that Toho and FGO kind of tied before the number of circles. Obviously, these numbers may not be 100% accurate, but as far as calculation of numbers go, they do seem to have about the same number of circles, so that was a little interesting. However, speaking of things that have never really happened before, I guess one other thing that may have seemed a little surprising to people who have been looking at all the numbers is the fact that the total number of circles have actually reduced between Comiket 106 and 105. As you can see here, there's about a drop of about 6,000 circles. The reason for this is in part because of the fact that halls 1 to 3 in the east side of the big side were actually not usable this time. So because of the fact that 3 of the bigger halls were gone, the number of circles also pretty much went down as a result. So it's not like the event actually saw that fewer people actually trying to participate in it. It really is just more like physically they couldn't have as many people as before, hence why it went down. Needless to say, this also resulted in a drop in the number of participants. So the thing with the drop in participants is that, as people have always talked about, because of the fact that the event is now pay to enter, obviously there are people who don't want to pay to enter, and therefore it has already gone down compared to the pre-Comiket era. But this time around it actually went down a lot more than usual, with the first day having 120,000 people and the second day having 130,000, totaling to 250,000, which is 50,000 less than last winter. That said, on the daily basis the change wasn't that much. Like, it fell by maybe like 20 to 30,000 thereabout on each of the days, but even then you're really not seeing a big enough drop for it to feel as strangely empty as it felt physically on the spot. Like, I don't know if you guys have been to Comiket, like maybe some of the videos here, when you look at the hall itself, I don't know about you guys, but to me at least, it felt very strangely emptier than usual, in spite of the fact that the total number of people actually didn't fall that much. Am I making any sense? Do I sound like one of those crazy conspiracy people talking about like mole people on the ground or something? Because really, the thing is that even when I first got there, when I got off the train, I was walking through the station, it just felt weirdly empty for 6 a.m. Like, I remember like even last year at 6 a.m. with the more or less same number of participants, it felt a lot more packed and more bustling. Like, people were shoving and pushing. This time I could actually see the floor. I could leisurely walk over to the spot where I wanted to get to for the queue. The queue itself also started a lot closer to the middle, and I actually ended up a lot closer to the front as well. So it all felt very weird. Like, there's a part of me that actually felt paranoid about whether or not they were actually going to punish people who came at like 6 a.m. or something at that point, because it just felt a little too strange that there were this few people. Like, I felt like maybe I missed a memo or something. Turns out that wasn't the case, but yeah, that's one thing that felt very weird. Although, to be fair, and this is something that I didn't think about until like recently after the event, was the fact that while we do have the total number of participants for the day itself, we don't really actually have access to numbers such as the total number of people in the hall. Like, we don't see the number of how many people have left by this timing, or like how many people are rotating through the event. And it could just be that they actually divided more of the tickets between the AM and PM as well as the early, in a way that caused each block to feel more empty, especially when you add that on top of the fact that they probably sold fewer tickets because there were fewer halls as well. And the fewer number of circles also means that some people may have come and gone off a lot earlier because they run out of things to see, or maybe the circles that they were waiting or expecting weren't actually turning up. So there's a lot of other factors that could also play into why it felt so empty. But truth be told, on the day itself, when I first got there, on actually both day 1 and 2, it kind of felt like maybe like Comiket 100 or 101, where it was like post-pandemic, the event was not even open really much to tourists yet, and like it was mostly people within Japan, and it felt like that level of empty to some extent, which made me feel a little weird. You would think that because of that, now it's a lot more space, you can get through the halls and the pathways a lot easier, but conversely, because of the fact that there was so much space, it felt like people started to stop in the middle of the pathway to check their map or check their phone and stare at stuff, and because of that, they end up blocking the entire pathway, where in previous years they probably would have just got got shoved forward all the way until they got to the edge of the hall where they could then check their map. So don't do that if you're at the event. Don't stand in the middle of the hallway and block everyone else. People will get very pissed, and you know, you are being obstructive. So try not to do that. The hall division also felt a little weird in terms of how it was positioned, because obviously once again Blue Archive was top place. That said, for some reason they decided to split Blue Archive into 3 different halls with like a little bit of every hall. So they got half of the South Hall, they got half of West 2, and they got like maybe a third of West 1. And so like they end up sharing halls with Idolmaster, which is the 3rd most popular series, as well as Umamusume, which is the 4th most. So that felt a little weird. I don't know why they didn't just pack like the entirety of the South Hall, then maybe let it trickle a little over into the West Hall, but instead chose to split it in this way, because it's actually a lot more inconvenient to go between the West and South Hall, since there is a little bit of a distance that you have to go through. You can't just walk straight in because of the fact that they were crowd controlling the hall, and so you had to leave, turn out, and then like go all the way around, which made it feel like a lot more time was wasted walking between halls, and it might have actually caused more jams for people because of the fact that they would have to commute between the halls a little more to get all of the stuff that they might want. But yeah, I don't know, maybe they had some specific reason in mind as to why they wanted to do it, hence why it ended up this way. Aside from the top 3, Toho was on the 2nd day in Hall 6, and it kind of was like Toho, as usual, gets its own little Toho space. It's kind of cool. It was a little easier to access. In terms of how flooded it was, it felt about as packed as like the Blue Archive as well as the Umamusume spaces, where you kind of have a little bit of space. You can see the floor, which is already a miracle, but it's not overly empty where it feels like the event is dead. Meanwhile, I think on day 2 in halls 4 and 5, which are connected to 6, where Toho was, it was like all of the sussy adult content, as well as some of the travel, military otaku, like gourmet, as well as all of the other like less weeb specific stuff. That area was a lot emptier, but when you got to the sussier like adult segment of that floor, it actually got so packed it actually felt like normal Comiket from previous years. It was really weird, because up until I stumbled onto that area while trying to look for the Toho stuff, it didn't really feel like a usual Comiket from how empty it was. And then when you got into specifically that space and everyone was shoving each other in all directions at once, it really like sold like, yeah, okay, it can still be that way because everybody is a gooner that's here to get their health supplements, I guess. That said, the VTubing stuff in all of its entirety was all in the West Hall. I think it was West 1, I could be wrong. It was just 1 or 2, and it filled up most of that hall, so that was pretty cool to see as the second biggest series. Still at this point, I guess in a way it's a little weird to call it its own series, since VTubing is not like a homogeneous thing but many different things, but the community for the most part seems to like jive together pretty well. So they have largely just clumped all of this together because, like, you know, some people just draw VTubers between all of the different groups, so it's a lot harder to keep track of like specifically just one company's like VTubers or agency's VTubers in that sense. This time around there was no nut job, it seems. At the very least, we didn't get like some dude blowing up on Twitter like Freerun Man or the guy who wanted to be Freerun Man, but you know, it just looks like a cheap Timu version of him instead. But that said, there was a lot of weird information spreading around online about the event for some reason, and I thought like some of it looked kind of interesting, and some of it feels like a good chance to talk about the event, so let's go through some of these as well. Like the first one was someone who put this like tweet up about like someone at the train station doing the whole Matador thing. Right now, if you go and look at the tweet, you probably can see from the community notes that it says there that this was from a previous Comiket, and yes, this is actually from a previous Comiket, but this guy, I think he got like about 1.3 million like impressions on this little clip before it actually got community noted. The comments are also like only people who he allows to comment on it are allowed to, so you know that they probably realized what they were doing. But yeah, for those of you who are wondering, because to me this is a good chance to talk about the history of the event as well. You can kind of tell that this is not a recent Comiket for multiple reasons. First up, the person actually talks about first train. First train isn't really a thing anymore in like now Comiket. Yes, people still go on the first train sometimes, but it's not as extreme as it used to be, where you would see the entire train flooded full of people and like trying to scramble on, where people are really fighting to get onto the first train. Because nowadays, if you were to try to do that, you probably would be able to very easily get on the first train without it being very much packed at all. Even when I went at like 6 a.m. this time around, it's like it doesn't really get packed enough to the point where you feel like you miss a train. You can still get on the train, have a little bit of wiggle room on it. So overall, first train scramble to this extent, not really a thing. People standing at the sides photographing it, also not really much of a thing anymore. In the past, that used to be the case because overnight used to be a thing. Shh. Committee likes to pretend they don't exist, so don't acknowledge them. It's like a T-Rex. Don't look at it and and you'll be fine. That isn't really a thing anymore. Most of it has already been eradicated. People don't do it because there isn't really much of a point to do it. Nowadays, it's a more capitalist system where if you're really rich, you just get in front of the queue anyways. So you don't really have those people standing at the sides photographing it to that extent anymore. And also, you can tell from the fact that the banner on top of the station is actually just a plain white. That has not been the case for multiple Comikets now. It has been a blue archive banner for like the last few Comikets up till this point. So yeah, if you want to fake it, do a better job. You're only gonna trick the normies who have no idea about it with this one. That said, don't do this, okay? It's not good to spread fake information about like how packed the event is. You give people the wrong idea of what the event is like, and that may cause people to act in certain ways that may make the event less enjoyable for everyone. So don't do that. Aside from that, there was another like kind of funny one as well, where this like AI delusion goal with like a story of like fake All Might. Like they actually got a AI generated image of a All Might cosplayer, and people kind of realized it really quickly that it was AI generated because like the floor panels, the grids on the ground were all like kind of off. They were like not equidistant from each other, like a standard plane on the ground. There were people in the background missing their legs. All Might seems to have like two really saggy like balls like going down both of his legs. It looked kind of weird as well. So like people were looking at all of that and they were like realized it was a AI thing. But what was just really funny about it was the fact that this person wrote a whole like little fanfic about how they met this like All Might cosplayer while they were like carrying all of their load, and they were so tired and so out of breath from like carrying all their stuff, and this All Might cosplayer came to them and screamed like Ultra Might, and they just like lifted up her stuff for her, and she was so happy about it, and everyone around stood there and applauded, which was like even funnier to me because like the whole story sounds so silly because like first up, if something like this happens, ain't nobody gonna fucking applaud. They're just gonna like stare at the guy like what the fuck is going on and then go about their day. Nobody has the time to stand around and stare at the guy holding up bags and go like, "Oh, sugoi desu ne," and like applaud that. Okay, no one's gonna actually do anything like that. Secondly, the idea of him helping her to lift the stuff is also like feels kind of silly. Like you're living the event itself. Where the fuck's he gonna bring this stuff to? Is he gonna follow you home and carry it all the way to your home? If that were the case, it probably wouldn't have just been a picture of her taking a picture of him cosplaying. Then the story would have like extended more than that. And yeah, like the whole thing just didn't really seem to make sense. So apparently after people pointed out that the image was AI, the account apparently changed its name, changed its profile picture, and said that they were hacked. So yeah, that was a kind of a funny thing that happened, I guess. That said, if you don't do this, don't go making like fake stories about like your fanfics of what you wish happened to you at Comiket. If you want to do something like that, go write a novel about it and go attend as a circle instead. It'll probably reduce the amount of stress you have from having to carry all the heavy load home yourself. Then, you know, if you live in Japan and you really have that much load, just use the postal service. Like there is actually a service there where you can put all of your stuff in boxes and have it sent to your home instead. So just do that instead. Thirdly, there's this like stink cleanser booth, which I think like it buzzed a lot of it in Japan Twitter at least, because someone made the funny joke like, haha, you weeps at the event, you should go visit this, and it's like the stink prevention like booth thing. Well, it looked really funny and it looked like you know, like a very eye-catching thing. It wasn't actually a stink prevention booth. They kind of were doing it in the sense that they were selling a spray that you could use to do it. They weren't actually gonna like put you through a thing that would like get rid of the smell in like seconds. The booth was largely just a social media campaign thing where they were trying to basically convince people to come and like post stuff, and like you get to take pictures with people from the JDF, like some of the mascot lady military members or something like that. It was certainly a thing, and I felt like I kind of got scammed by it. When you actually got into the booth, all they had was like for the gate that would cleanse you of your stink was really just a single like mini weak ass fan turbine like turning and like dispensing a little bit of like whatever the spray they had, like a gamer JDF bath water or something into you, and like yeah, there's no way that was gonna do anything. I felt like the person outside of the booth with like the spray gun instead, that probably had a much bigger impact than the little fan turbine they had. So yeah, that was a little bit of a funny, like the idea of the booth, I give them 10 out of 10 for the idea. It was really funny. 1 out of 10 for the execution, but if they had actually executed what they wanted to do, I feel like it would have been really funny instead. Well, that said, aside from the stink cleansing booth, the rest of the corporate booth segment was still pretty lively. lively as well. This year was Front Wing's anniversary as well. This year is the company's 25th anniversary, and for that 25th anniversary, they actually got quite a grand booth setup as well. It was a lot more elaborate than the booths that they usually have, where usually it's just a single like store booth where you can go there and like purchase goods. This time around, they actually had a little display with like televisions and like standees to like show some of the characters and like celebrate the fact that the company had actually managed to carry on for this long. It was actually pretty cool to see, and especially cool to see that like this is another one of the visual novel companies that has managed to survive as long as it is, and actually seems to be doing at least fairly well. And the booth itself was actually fairly grand. I feel like even for like Alicesoft when they had their 35th anniversary, it was nowhere near like this. Like granted, it's not like on the level of like some fucking insane like Nikkei or Yostar stuff where it just had this super big booth with like a Lamborghini or something like that, but at the very least, for what the scale of the company is, it actually looked really grand. I thought it was actually really cool to see what they had done, and it was actually a lot cooler than what Alicesoft had done for their 35th, so hey, props to them for actually putting this much effort into it, and I hope that they continue to do well going forward. But yeah, aside from them, most of the other visual novel companies were also there this time. Alicesoft, Milk Factory was there, which it already has a very sussy name, and the booth as well was very sussy. Like props to them for actually thinking of doing that. It feels like the stuff like this hasn't been much of a thing in Comiket for a while, since back in the day this used to be more of a thing for like visual novel companies, corporates that didn't really get a chance to be at other events because of the nature of the content to actually like showcase and like sell stuff. So glad to see most of them are back now. I think I've said this like the last 2 times as well, but it really is good to see more and more of them coming back to this event, since I think Milk Factory only finally came back the last time around as well. Though that said, speaking of big companies, I don't think Neostar was there this time at all. Like they didn't even have a booth. Like yeah, they had some of the advertising up in the halls for like Blue Archive, and like I think there was some for Azure Lane, but I don't remember any for Arknights. I could be wrong. Someone might be able to correct me on that. If there was, I apologize. I really didn't see it. But suffice to say, they had ads up, but they didn't have a booth this time around. So I don't know if this means that the company is not doing as well, or they don't see a point in doing it or something. But yeah, it was surprising to see them not there after all these years of just like going there to set up display booths for stuff. Speaking of ads though, like one thing that did feel a little weird as well was the fact that there were just fewer banners up as well. Like I ran through the East Hall, and usually along the middle hallway between halls 1 to 6, we have all the banners up in the middle as well, except for the ones on top of the hall. Now granted, as I mentioned, 1 to 3 were under renovation, so obviously there weren't going to be any on that side, but the ones in the middle of the hallway just weren't there as well, which kind of was a little surprising. Like it felt like stuff like that, stuff like Hall 7, which had some of the more, it was the isolated East Hall that was outside the building, where they usually would have like a big banner for like some ads for some of the like games or anime IPs as well. There was none there. Like overall, I feel like there were less ads, which probably means like less sponsor money for the event, I think, which felt a little weird. I guess maybe they were earning less from that. Like some people, like me included, we do wonder, like especially now that the pandemic is over and they have been getting sponsors for a long time again, why ticket prices have been the same while the quality of the event doesn't feel like it's improving. Like back in the day, the event was 3 days. You had corporates mostly being the ones footing most of it, hence why it was free entry. But this time, like ever since like the pandemic became a thing, initially they did put out that they felt like it was going to be difficult for them to get the same number of sponsors, since they can't get the same number of people to the event because of the pandemic if they want to host it. So they started charging tickets, and most of us, I feel like at the time, were on board with it, since like at the time it kind of made sense to support and see the event stay a thing. But then like now the quality of the event didn't really go up, even though they were charging still while also getting the sponsors and corporates back. So it felt a little weird. So it's a thing that we've been sometimes complaining about. But yeah, this time around it does seem like overall there were fewer sponsors as well. So that was a little bit of a surprise. That said, Shift Up was there with Nikkei this time around as well. The Nikkei booth was pretty big. I think they had a full-on like cosplay stage area as well. It didn't feel as grand as the last year's. I think I preferred the one from last year with the like little onsen looking building a lot more. This time around it felt more normal-ish. The stage itself was pretty like grand and like stage-ish, but it didn't feel like the whole booth had like a unique setting with like a bunch of things you could play around with, kind of like with last year. That and Brown Dust 2, I don't remember the company that made it, was also up with a booth there, the other big sussy game that seems to be all the rage nowadays. That was a surprise, because it could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing this series getting a booth up to this point. So it was kind of cool to see them after all this time finally getting the money or the feeling that they have enough support to want to set up a booth in Comiket as well. Though I think the thing in the corporate booth area that actually caught my eye the most is probably the Symphogear like live segment. I say live because like it's mostly just them playing the music from the series with a DJ there and a person with the violin. The violin was live and it was really sick to like see the violinist and the DJ just like doing their thing while the music was playing. And it was actually like quite hype, to be honest. Like people were just there with like light sticks just like waving in the bottom of the stage. Like granted, this is not the first time a stage event has been done. I think last year there were actually 2. Visual Arts had one for their anniversary and there was another one for, I don't remember what anymore. It was like a DJ thing where it's like a VTuber DJ and people were just like bopping along with it. This time around you had the Symphogear one and it actually felt pretty grand for what it was. That and it also helped to remind me of how old I am, because like a lot of the other series that exist now, there kind of is like a pachinko machine, or I think there might be actually multiple for this series that are out there. So it's a very good way to know that you're old and the IP you like is old. Speaking of pachinko though, there was a thing with like the Magia record booth where they actually had one where they were celebrating the birthday of the main protagonist of Magia record, the not Madoka, other pink hair girl, and it's like I was just there and like mate, like they made a pachinko and a slots machine and they put those up in a booth and they were like happy birthday, and it's like that's so Fuck, I can't even like do this part properly. Like I think I have a video of it. It's probably being put up now at this point. It felt like so wrong. Like, happy birthday, you're a bitch now, time to gamble. Yeah, we're gonna celebrate your birthday by making a pachinko machine of you. Like, if someone ever did that to me, no, just no. Yes, no. But that said, overall, I did have a lot of fun at the event this time around as well. The weather on the first day was actually like fairly cloudy. I think it drizzled for like 30 seconds, just enough to like tinkle my body a little bit. But aside from that, it was cloudy the whole day, so it was actually very breezy, very cooling. The second day, there was no cloud, so it was fairly hot. But even then, it felt overall less bad than last year, and it seemed like fewer people collapsed than last year. So overall, it feels like the event did a lot better this time. And you know, there were actually more IPs that I was really looking forward to as well, and that some people were asking me to help look for stuff for like TBK Euphonium as well as stuff like the Maho Ako stuff, as well as all of the other booths for like the travel stuff, which you get to see more of what I got. Like I really did get a whole bunch of stuff. Some stuff that might feel a little more silly. Some people might even wonder why I even bought those things. But to me, everything that I buy, well, it might seem a little like weird or like different from what people might expect from Comiket. To me, it's all about the unique stimulation that these things give that is really important to what makes the event fun. Wait, no, it's not the type of stimulation you might think it is, okay? Don't be a sissy backer with this. But yeah, there was a circle that was selling a Lotto towel for like a little bit of a Blue Archive reference. I can like put this on, I guess. Yeah, this is how we're gonna start the thing off. It was pretty cool. There's a circle actually selling this. It was a towel meant for like use as a head wrap for if you go to like, especially in summer or winter Comiket, if you need something to cover the head. Some people seem to prefer a towel, probably because it helps absorb some of the sweat as well. Personally, I prefer wearing my very lame fedora instead. Right, personally, usually I just wear this thing instead since it does a better job of like shading and covering the eyes as well, but it's up to you what your preference is with this. Aside from that, I also have the also got a pretty cool ring. Like, yeah, I don't know. I find it to be pretty cool. Something that doesn't feel like too overly whip-ish, although it does have a little bit of a tuny vibe, which is why the brain rot maybe made me buy it as well. But personally for me, sometimes I do like stuff like this as well. You know, with the right clothing, you can make it look a little more like coolish maybe. My man, you stepped into the wrong neighborhood. I don't have my gun umbrella around, so this might look a little lamer, but just don't mind that, I guess. Aside from that, I feel like it wouldn't be a event if I didn't like find some weird like collab book, because like, and by that I don't mean like crossover collabs necessarily, but a compilation book where multiple artists come together to create art for a specific theme for a specific series. We had the To Love Rule one with was it Love Live? A little while back, we had the one with the City Hunter X Love Live, and this time around, we have something that's a little more close, and I guess everyone will be expecting a little more to everyone's hearts, which is the Umamusume Motorsports collab book. And the art itself is actually pretty good. Like, it really does capture the whole motorsports thing pretty well. It's not just image, of course. There are also like little like doujin actual doujins, family-friendly ones, of course, because if you made adult content for Umamusume in Japan, Yakuza would probably get you or something. That's the joke people like to make. Also, like little like short stories as well. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff in this book. This one is just like a mishmash of a bunch of different styles of things into one book, celebrating horse girls driving car. Well, I guess you could say that the cars have a lot more horsepower than before now. Yeah, aside from all of the other stuff, I also did manage to, at the Nanoha segment, actually find a Yagami family cuck. No, not cuck. Like kuku. Like the Japanese word says kuku. Like it's supposed to be like some ye old French thing. Like I don't know about old French things other than baguettes and Napoleon and lead poisoning. So like I do apologize if I might seem a little uncultured, but apparently this was like a old like 15th century card game that they used to play back in the day, and there was a circle that somehow made this as an actual thing for the Nanoha goods that they were selling. Like the cards are really cool and all. Like these are the Jokers. Like they did try their best to make like a full like Yagami family thing, and it's like the cards are all some of the art is very similar. Like you can see like she's mostly just has like expression changes on these as well, for example. But overall I think these are actually really cool, and like yeah, it's like this circle has been making this kind of goods for a long time. I think the stuff they made in the past I really liked was they actually made like a different like Nanoha acrylic keychain for every single prefecture, where it's basically like you have Nanoha or Fate or Hayate with like some of the things that are iconic to the prefecture on it. It was really cool to see. But yeah, suffice to say they made the entire game like this, and they actually gave me 2 giant sheets for the rulebook as well, because apparently this game was fairly complicated. Like I don't know what I was looking at. Like there's even a little like card effect explanation thing here, and there's like 10 different specifically numbered cards that have like specific effects that when they are played you need to do a very specific thing, and it's like you need to remember that, and like some of the cards have like a weird number on them. Like there's the one over here with like 8,810. Like this is higher than and even the attack power of the strongest like Yu-Gi-Oh monster. So like I don't know what crack the French were on back in the day, but they certainly did make a interesting game. I'll probably have to go and read the rulebook because they gave me an entire like 2-page rulebook. Actually, let me go get that as well. It might be funny. You really do have a lot of rules for this thing, it seems like, cause like there's like an entire like rule sheet here, as you can see. And it's like actual like full 2 pages. Like it has like part 1, like what are the contents, what you need to prepare, like the different levels of play. Like there's like easy mode, like moderate and advanced, and like all of the different ways you can play it, how to play a survival mode, all the different like ways you can like supplement the game with all of the different rules and like cards and how they can be used. And not only that, they actually have an FAQ as well. So like you have a little FAQ here to like answer even more doubts about the game if you have questions about it that weren't answered by the explanation sheet. And this is also 2 pages long, so yeah, it feels like this is gonna take a while for me to really figure out how to play this game. But yeah, and I'm also gonna need to find friends to play this game with, which is probably gonna be the even more difficult part. But one day we'll learn how to play cook, or like cock, or whatever the fuck this game's name is. Aside from that, I also had a very strange, perhaps, interaction with a guy in the military otaku side of things as well. Like I was browsing the whole of the event as usual, looking for the coolest stimulation I could find. Once again, not the kind that you're probably thinking of, you sussy backer, but I was looking for interesting things, and I came across this like 60-year-old man who was selling like little historical like articles he had written, like military doujins, about the history of the bazooka from the very first ones to ever be produced by America all the way till the M20 series. Yeah, I just bought the whole series. I don't know, I think I ended up spending like 20 minutes at the booth just talking to him about it. It was not something I had in mind initially when I went to Comiket, you know. Just end up talking about like bazookas, all the different types from all the different countries made during World War like II and before and after. But it certainly is interesting. Like this feels like the kind of thing that if he was 40 years younger, he would probably be making a YouTube video or a YouTube short even, where he holds his mic in his hand while having the stand over there and goes like, top 10 things that you didn't know about bazookas. Did you know that when you want to fire it while standing, the posture is gonna be something like this? You know, like, it's a good thing that he's an old man. It probably was what made the conversation a lot more entertaining, because of the fact that he isn't gonna be like some like monotone, like snarky person on the internet. Shit, I felt like hit myself with a boomerang there. But overall, it was a pretty interesting read. You know, stuff like this where it's just like things, like I guess especially more for the military otakus, it'll be like something that they would be really into. Like for people who are wondering, because like sometimes I do get people asking, yes, this stuff like this is also what counts as a doujin, because doujins aren't just like porn of your favorite anime girl. It's everything, even if it's non-adult. Like Umamusume gets like all non-adult content because people don't like to have their ass like served to them by the community within Japan in particular. So yeah, just so you know, cue the dun 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 dun. Aside from that, while I was in the travel section, like usually the travel section is people like putting up pictures of like all of the old ruined buildings or like the cool places they visit, like their trip to France, all of the what they would call like the hidden spots you can visit that are actually kind of cool that people usually don't go to. They talk about like their trip, what to prepare, what things you might need if you plan to go like cross country cycling, stuff like that. It makes up a huge variety. And this year I found something that actually might come in handy for like a future video, which was a Makeheroine Walker, which is basically a doujin where a bunch of people tried to essentially compile a list of every single location that has a real life reference within the series, where they are, what you can find, what they have found when they were there. And this one essentially has them going to all of the locations, asking, and like they actually apparently, according to them, managed to ask some of the people who organize some of the ads or some of the celebration stuff that goes up, like, you know, like the little birthday banners that you see in train stations sometimes, or all of the ads for the actual game, or the illustrators for some of the stuff as well. Like, it was actually really interesting, like seeing all the stuff they had to say about the series, as well as all the places they visited as well, all of the locations with the small like posters and up and the like that are still up because of the fact that the series was actually based on those areas as well. I thought the whole thing was very nice, since at the very least for a fairly modern series like this, it's not as bad because you can Google a lot of it and you can probably find it online, because the whole like Seichi Meguri, or I guess like I don't know what's the word you guys use for it in English, like the Japanese term literally translated would be something along the lines of like holy site visiting. For older series, like someone actually asked me once to help them with like some of the Cardcaptor Sakura ones. Like that was actually really difficult because there were barely any records online and there was no publication. And if someone ever made a doujin about it, it probably got lost to time like, I don't know, like 15, 20 fucking years ago, because like probably, especially when it comes to like online archival outside of Japan. To begin with, I feel like most scanners and translation groups probably wouldn't pick up something like that. They would typically be going for the more like actual anime stuff, as well as in particular the adult content. So probably lost the time if it ever existed. So stuff like this kind of convenient, you know, if like maybe 10 years down the road from now, when everybody has already forgotten the series and I feel like being a boomer, I can take this book, use it as a reference to go to all of the locations that were in the anime, and we could actually do like a 10-year after video, like are this location still around? Like that might be something cool that could be done. But yeah, you know, if there's anybody I trust to find where most likely these locations are, well, I mean, the person that I would most likely trust would be Rainbow, but I can't get a hold of him because he's a big YouTube man. So like the best I can trust is the authors online, right? Because all you need is enough authors like me, or like to like go to all of these locations and like study the backgrounds in the anime and like try and figure out where it is in the city, and you can probably like find a lot of it. And like the fact that they actually have it compiled is pretty nice, especially since even nowadays in particular, like some websites do go down over time. Like some of Japan's biggest old like message boards did go down as well because of like maintenance and all of that. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. I do hope I can find some for some other series in the future as well. I'll probably check out the travel section more as well, and hopefully we might be able to do a video of some of the stuff of this as well, and I might be able to find some for much older series as well, which might actually be even more interesting. Lastly, I found this book, which on its own it's not gonna make any sense. This is a extremely, according to, like, the title is like Chou Hanyo, which is like an extremely widely applicable, like it's fairly generic, like something that you can use, or I guess like templated that you can use in a lot of different situations, because this guy basically made a rhythm game controller with the help of some of the actual like rhythm games out there. Like he basically went to like the Toho, Danmaku Kagura, and the creators of games such as those, and basically tried to get their input on like what would be needed for their games to be optimally played on a controller. And this basically documents all all of the stuff he actually went through to build his own like custom controller that will be as ergonomic as possible for playing all of the different rhythm games that he had set his sights on. He actually had a live demo of it at the location itself. It actually kind of did look like what you see here on this page with like the buttons as well. And he was actually kind enough to let me try it and like video and like take pictures of me actually like playing around with it. It actually felt really ergonomic. Like it was kind of funny because, you know, typically you think about like playing rhythm games on your mobile device. Like you think about like the people who do the tippy taps with their like index fingers. I can't get used to that, but especially if you use a tablet, that might be more normal. I'm more of a thumb person myself. But overall, this actually felt really good. Like I actually tried using that controller on one of those games, and it feels like you're actually cheating because it basically is like a proper like setup for like if you're playing like DJ Max Respect or like some other PC based rhythm game. But because of the fact that most of these like mobile rhythm games are designed for playing with just like 2 to 3 fingers at most, the fact that you would basically able to use a controller where each of your fingers was ergonomically placed on a button like that curves into the shape of your hand meant that it was so easy and so comfortable that like it was actually really fun, to be honest. Like the thing I always found the toughest with playing like mobile rhythm games is the fact that my phone is really long and I'm a very small man. You guys probably know, like I look tall in the videos maybe because of the fact that the house is small because this is Japan. The house is on average smaller than like the houses overseas. Like people who go to my streams probably already know this because like I've memed it before, but like I think like half my viewer base, if they were to try to go through the doorway in my house, they would probably hit their head on the thing instead. But like for me, it's just fine because yeah, I'm a short man. But that said, we don't let that get us down. Either way, it was actually really like comfortable to be able to use the controllers to play with it instead, because usually with my phone, my thumbs can't get across well enough to hit the middle buttons comfortably and then go back to the side. So overall, I don't think I would actually buy one of those to use for a rhythm game. He did make some for fighting games as well, and that was actually more interesting. Like with like fight sticks, fight kits, people already have their own custom ones made. So something like that actually feels like it'd be really cool to have because of the fact that, you know, you can have it a bit more ergonomical. I know some of the higher end ones already are, but it's just cool to see people like trying to make their own ones at these events as well. The rhythm game one, you know, if it actually worked for PC instead, because he made it mostly for like mobile instead. But if it worked for PC, I probably would use it because it just feels more comfortable than even a keyboard. Like I've tried playing like DJ Max with a controller and a keyboard, and even with my ergonomic keyboard, it still feels a little rough at times. So I don't know, something like that feels like it might actually be the reason why I might actually start playing like DJ Max 6 key instead of just 4 key. But either way, that's it for all of the interesting stuff I found this time around. Yeah, there isn't really much in terms of BA stuff that I brought up. I know some people feel like I do it too much. Some people feel like they wish they saw more. I do have some BA stuff, but it's mostly just dojins that I personally enjoy and stuff like that. So I'll probably show it in a short. You might have already seen the short. It may have actually come out before this video for all I know. I'm not sure at the point of me recording this, but that is a thing I'll probably try to do as well. Like not just the Akihabara shots which you see on the channel now, but maybe I'll do something with that as well. And we can actually show some of the other stuff I've bought, because like for those as well as some of the other series that I go for, like the over there for the Class no Inkia no Ojo-sama series, the Dojin series, I just go for that and I get the set every single Comiket, but it feels like a lot weird to keep talking about it as much as I enjoy it, because it makes it feel like I'm a sim for the series, which the fact that I'm buying this kind of means I am. But you know, don't want to spend too much time like looping the same stuff. I want to show you guys more interesting, more variety. That's part of what I want to do with this, to show people that there's more to it than just the adult content as well, which obviously I can't show that. Maybe one day we could make an OnlyFans and instead of showing my feet, I show you my dojins instead. Not dojins of me. Fuck, that actually came out wrong. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. I hope this is an interesting video for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you to the very epic people that help to support the channel as always. Thanks to you guys that I can keep making more of this, or that at least I have the motivation to keep making all of this hopefully interesting videos for you guys. And until next time, take care and bye-bye.